Hey everyone, this is Sir Michael at Read On with Sir Michael Rivera, and today I'll be doing One Day It'll All Make Sense by Common. This is a memoir that Common wrote. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Common. He's a recording artist, uh, rapper, who's often considered a conscious rapper. He's also an actor. He's been in a lot of films already. And this is the story of his life, particularly growing up in Chicago. um, Remarkable read. I think one of my favorite reads so far in terms of memoirs. Um, you get the sense that Common is who he is because of his mother and the way that he was raised. One of the first things that I loved about this book is that it's actually filled with interspersions of his mother. So in a way, it's told by Common and his mom. And oftentimes, his mom's interspersions contradict what Common just said. So, for example, there's one part where Common says that he's been hustling all his life, he's been on the grind all his life, and it's immediately followed by his mom saying that he's never worked a day in his life, which I thought was hilarious. And I think Common liked and likes the fact that his mom often contradicts him because how true is this? We'll say one thing and then our parents will say, oh, no, 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 he's not that person, he's this person. So our parents will oftentimes have a different interpretation of who we are. And I thought that it was a wonderful thing that Common included his mom's interpretations. Um, you get the sense also of how important his father has been in his life. His father basically for most of his life was not there. However, later on, when he was a teenager, his dad reconnected with him, and to this very day, he's still very close to his dad. So his mom and dad separated when he was still young. Because apparently his dad was into drugs and all types of things, but it was a wonderful thing that Common and his dad were able to reconnect. In fact, if you hear "It's Your World" on the album B, that last segment of the song where it's spoken word, that's actually his dad. And I think that's a very wonderful segment. You also get the sense of how important a role basketball has played in his life. His dad used to play for the ABA. He himself used to be a ball boy for the Chicago Bulls, and in fact, one day, as he was in the United Center coming out of the tunnel into the actual basketball arena, he had a vision of Emmett Till, which to for the rest of his life just completely transformed him. And last but not least, you get the sense of how important growing up in Chicago, how important a role that has played in his life. Particularly in the late 80s when he was growing up, when he was a young kid. There's actually a wonderful passage, and I'll go ahead and share this with you, but it highlights the importance that Chicago has played in his life. One of the most memorable days of high school basketball had nothing at all to do with the game itself. It happened during practice on November 25, 1987, the day that we learned Mayor Harold Washington had died. Being black in Chicago in the 80s meant a lot of things, both good and bad. The greatest thing it meant, though, could be summed up in two words: Harold Washington. I think that's a very beautiful passage for several reasons, but primary among them is that Harold Washington is the essence of what Chicago is all about. The people, the culture. You can say all you want about the dailies, but Harold Washington is where it was at, is where Chicago is at. So I love the fact that he mentioned that, and that he mentioned how significant that was towards the evolvement of his life, the evolution of his life. Um, the other thing I liked about this book is that he describes that he has not always been a conscious artist. He evolved into a conscious artist. At the beginning, he rapped about what all other rappers rap about, which is violence, misogyny, and bling. So he had to evolve into something that was bigger, that was grander, and that was more transformative. He talks about his relationship with Erica Badu, who he, I think at one point was married with, might even have a kid with, I'm not sure. Uh, but they had a very, in many ways, very inspiring relationship, but very troublesome. So he realized at some point that that relationship could not go on. During the telling of this memoir, he was actually in a relationship with Serena Williams, and you do get the sense that he felt that she was the one, the one woman who would remain with him for the rest of his days. And I don't know what happened there, but apparently that did not happen because they're no longer together. You know, and I think that for many, many reasons, this is a very inspiring read. I recommend it to anyone, especially aspiring writers, because it just allows you to know that you can come from very humble beginnings and yet make it to very big places in life. But it all begins with you, and it all begins with your attitude. So definitely read this book and keep staying tuned to Read On with Sir Michael Rivera.